Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tempcast, the official GBA Temp podcast. Today I'm joined by Eric.
Hey guys, what's going on?
And special guest Steven.
Hello.
Now, as you all might remember, yesterday we ended the podcast on an addendum. Right after we finished recording, the news came out that the Team Xecuter founders, co-founders, whatever, were indicted and arrested. And at the time, we unfortunately couldn't get Eric, who is a trained legal professional, on the podcast. So we had to record just me and Steven. And what do we know about laws and felonies and stuff like that? We don't even know what an indictment is and what's the difference between going to jail and being arrested. So we got legal expert Ericzander back on the podcast. That's right, he's back, and he's going to give us a detailed explanation as to what happened with Team Xecuter, what kind of charges they're facing, and, you know, is Gary Bowser going to jail? Everybody's wondering, is it going to happen? Well, without further ado, Eric, please tell us everything you know.
Hi guys, you hear me? New microphone? Do I sound... Alright, I'm just kidding. Hey guys, what's going on? Legal professional, that's a fun way of putting some random dude who went to law school for 3 years and hasn't even figured out if he passed the bar exam yet. But I appreciate the intro. Yeah, Gary Bowser is in big old doo-doo trouble because 11 felonies up against them. Not just, you know, for the part that everybody knows, which is, you know, selling the SXOS, you know, software and all of that. But let's see, what else do they have on their wire fraud, trafficking, circumvention devices, conspiracy to commit money laundering. These are some serious problems. So I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for them, unfortunately. I understand that people like using their products. There are free alternatives to using their products. I mean, Steven, you used the Atmosphere instead of the SX, so...
I told you that in confidence. I know you're not a lawyer yet, but I thought we had client attorney privileges.
See, that's the thing. We didn't have any privileges whatsoever. Steven doesn't use it for piracy, but other people use it for piracy, which is a bad thing. So, I mean, I understand that, you know, some people are going to say that these guys are innocent, but honestly, they're not great guys who are doing this. They are profiting off of the work of others, and not just Nintendo. They're not just profiting off of pirating Nintendo games. They're, as far as I understand it, they basically take software made by other people and are then selling it, you know, encrypting it and then selling it. Am I misstating that?
There's been allegations that they took code from Atmosphere. I know people were trying to decompile their encrypted stuff to see if there was definitely Atmosphere code in there, but I'm not 100% sure if that was confirmed. I believe it was, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know what's going to happen with this. I do know that Gary is in the United States now. He was extradited over here. He's in jail right now. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm sort of just in the same page as you guys, and of course, most of the people who are listening to this already know what's going on with it. Many probably even more than I do. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy because whether you guys like it or not, whether you use their products or not, they're breaking the law. So, and it's not one of those like unjust laws. This is piracy, which is a problem.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Do you think this means anything else for other home brewers or stuff like that? Like someone like Atmosphere, where all of their code is open source and there's no hardware involved, there's no money that exchanges hands at any point. Do you think people working on similar homebrew projects need to be worried, or do you think SXOS's users or, you know, customers need to be worried in any way?
Well, that's a good question. I doubt that they're going to attack the people who are using these products, because normally they go after the people making the products. Like when they took down the people at the Pirate Bay, they didn't really go against people who were torrenting, you know, movies and stuff. They went against the guys who were hosting the site.
Right, but with something like the Pirate Bay, there was no hardware and there was no money trail. Who knows if SXOS is keeping any, you know, financial information or anything. Like,
Yeah, I was getting to that because no, I'm just saying that the users, the people who are using it, probably are fine. I'm not saying that they're going to be fine, but I highly doubt that Nintendo's going to go and see every single person who purchased this thing and yell at them for that. I mean, of course, they'll just keep doing what they can on their end to, block access to it and make sure that their Nintendo Switch is super stable with all of the updates, increasing the stability of the system. As for Atmosphere, I don't know. They're not profiting off of it per se. They're not making money off of the work of others as much as they're just letting people, giving them access to, homebrew, which lets you do cool things like
install themes.
Yes, install themes. That's what people use Atmosphere for. They use it to install themes.
I was going to say, it's also worth pointing out, SXOS came with, I don't 100% know all the technical details, but it came with some kind of like SIG patch or a key or something that was needed in order to run backups. So it came with piracy enabled on it, whereas with Atmosphere, you can't play game backups or anything like that right out of the box with Atmosphere. You have to go to an illicit website and find these keys and install them on your Switch separately.
Yes. See, Atmosphere is at least keeping themselves one or two steps removed, whereas it seems like Team Xecuter were like, hey, here's a thing. You use this to pirate games. Give us some money. Don't give Nintendo any money. And use this to pirate games. Whereas Atmosphere is saying, look, we're here to install themes, and whatever else you want to do, that's up to you, So I wouldn't make any predictions on whether or not Atmosphere is going to get indicted or anything, or just based off of this, because I don't know if there's any precedent to having them get in trouble because of it. But again, I genuinely, just because I went to law school, I don't know any more about this situation than you guys do. I mean, I know what an indictment is, obviously, and I know what money laundering is and what piracy is, and what extradition means.
That's worth all the money you spent. You learned.
Yeah, right.
That was what you learned in law school.
Yeah. The thing is, the bar exam doesn't care about any of that stuff. They're just like, hey, did you know that arson only counts if it's somebody else's house, except never. So whatever.
Did they talk about Team Xecuter on the bar?
They didn't, because the bar was written right before this happened. So I'm sure that there would have been a question on internet piracy, but alas.
You see, that's why we're more efficient than the Bar Association, because we came in, we recorded the addendum and had it stuck on. We were done before this happened too, but the bar exam couldn't get it together like we could to throw on the additional piracy question.
I agree. It's ridiculous. I'm very disappointed in the NCBE only for that. I'm not disappointed in them for anything else.
Yeah. By the way, everyone listening now has to send you money because you gave them legal consultation on this.
Disclaimer. Nothing that I am saying should be construed to be legal advice or legal information. This is my personal opinion that is based off of nothing, and I'm sort of just rambling at this point, but do not take anything that I say seriously, because I'm just some dude. Don't sue me, please. That's
all right.
Concerning Team Xecuter, recently, another thing that happened with them, the firmware for their SX Modchip was dumped on the internet. In theory, you could find it and download it. I don't know how the legality of that works out. I mean, if it's legal to link to that or download it, because it's like a piracy software that was it was created for the sole purpose of pirating software and using that pirated software, and at the same time it's proprietary. So could you share it? If I do, then who's gonna sue me? Like, if the Team Xecuter is in jail, could they sue me for leaking that firmware? That's an interesting question as well.
One of the dudes is a Chinese national and hasn't been extradited or anything yet, so he's scot-free. I think he can still sue you.
Yeah, let's watch him try that. That sounds like a great idea.
That's how we boost listeners. Well, that would get us in the news if Alan John got sued by Team Executor.
Yeah.
We'd have huge numbers.
Here's the question, Alan John, you're a moderator on GBA Temp. If somebody did link to this, what would you do? Would you remove the post or would you leave it?
I'd have to remove the post just in case, because it's like proprietary software. I mean, I don't really understand that much how switch hacking works, unfortunately. The only thing I know is that you can hack one of the first switches with a paperclip, if I recall correctly. That's how it's done. But other than that, I don't know that much. But I'm pretty sure that linking before, like, to proprietary piracy stuff concerning Team Xecutor, like the SXOS, was pretty much not okay. I think. I might be wrong because I'm not like a moderator in the Switch section, and that's what happens in the Switch section.
I think that you're correct in that because I made a news post once about when SXOS was the most recent update, and I did link to the site. I asked permission from somebody whose name I won't say right now first, and it was all right. But then another moderator told me, hey, don't link that. And I was like, well, I'm getting conflicting information, so I don't know. So I just removed the link. So yeah, we don't link to that website.
Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
But concerning this leak, I opened up the tweet that this came from Mike Heskin, who found this exploit, it seems. In one of the replies, somebody asked if it's possible to use this leak to create open source mod chips that could boot Atmosphere on Mariko. And for those of you who don't know, Mariko is the revision of the Switch that came with the improved Tegra processor, which had better battery life, which isn't hackable with a paperclip. So this is some actually really interesting stuff. Somehow, because of this proprietary leak, we actually can expand the homebrew scene to even more people, which is kind of interesting. That's probably the exact opposite of what Nintendo would have wanted. Then again, I don't know if this leak is in any way connected to the arrests that were made.
But the timing is definitely suspicious.
Yeah, I was going to say the timing seems very suspicious to me. Right after they're arrested, all of a sudden we got this leak because the Team Xecuter, they're dead. I mean, like that. I'm sorry. I feel like most people know this. Are they also the same guys who did Gateway?
Yeah.
Or see, yeah, that was a theory for a while, but I didn't know if it was confirmed yet or not. So
it was in the DOJ report, I believe, because they were also involved in some mods for like the classic mini consoles. There was something for the original Xbox that they were involved in. They had a lot of different stuff there, but the SXOS is the big one right now, obviously.
Further reason why nobody listening should take anything that I say as seriously, because I don't know anything that's going on really, aside from what I've read, which wasn't a whole lot, unfortunately, because I'm not really into the Switch hacking scene because I don't have a Switch. I know vaguely about the situation, but I do know that of those 11 felonies, they're not all related to the piracy. There's money laundering going on there, or at least a conspiracy to do that. So, don't do that stuff, guys. You're gonna get in trouble. So I don't think that it was out of the blue for the DOJ to say, hey, this is the one of, if not the most notorious internet piracy groups, because I can't think of a bigger one when it comes to the video game industry anyway.
No, and definitely none that are charging for it. Because weren't there allegations that you could pay to get a license to use their own ROMs or backups that they were selling? I could be wrong about that, but I thought there were some allegations that you could get private access to a forum or a server or something that had those.
I definitely heard about that, but I don't know where it was from. I probably read it from some post on GBA Temp, and I'm just like, I'll take that as fact.
Yeah.
So 2 things. First of all, it turns out that Team Xecuter has been around for a very long time, really starting from the times of the original Xbox. So they've been around for a very, very long time. It took Nintendo to take them down. And another thing I noticed, I just visited their website, and their website looks Very, very strange. It feels like it's a template site, a site that's made from like a Tumblr template or whatever. I don't know. The prices on their SX Gear, their SX Core, SX Pro, SX Lite, they're all $0. I don't know if it's all free now or maybe that's some kind of glitch. Their SX OS though is still 27 euros. But if you look at the left side of the website, you see the controls for modifying the website. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, like it's almost like I'm an admin here and I can control the layout. I can literally change the layout of the website right now. And I don't know if anybody's behind this website right now, if actively working on it.
What's the website?
We don't gotta talk about that.
This is so weird. Why is it even up? Why is it still up?
I don't know. I thought it was taken down.
There was, people were talking about it possibly being down in the UK or something, and other people were saying it was up. I didn't 100% know what was going on there.
It's amazing how Nintendo takes down one of their biggest issues, you could say, which is, the Switch being hacked. That's probably a big problem for them. But you know what Nintendo doesn't consider a problem? JoyCon drift, it seems. Have you guys heard of this?
Yep, unfortunately.
Mine actually just started drifting recently, so I'm passionate about this right now. As you can tell from my voice. I'm very excited.
So Nintendo is reportedly arguing that Joy-Con drift, in quotation, isn't a real problem or hasn't caused anyone any inconvenience, end quote. So the law firm behind the class action lawsuit asks consumers for video accounts of issues they have experienced. So if those of you who are out of the loop, there is actually a class action lawsuit against Nintendo because of this Joy-Con drift issue that has been plaguing every single Switch system, I think, including like the original, the Marico, and also I think the Switch Lite, because if I recall correctly, those use the exact same Joy-Con technology as the, not the Joy-Con because they don't have Joy-Cons, but the same joystick technology. It has 2 graphite pads, which is not that durable. After some time of using it, they start drifting because the contacts go haywire. It doesn't really happen with any other joysticks. It happens only with the Joy-Cons. It doesn't happen on DualShock controllers, doesn't happen on Xbox controllers, and it's all because of the form factor, because they're trying to make it as slim as possible. They had to fit that thing in Joy-Con, and other than like the joystick, the Joy-Con has gyro controls and other buttons and vibration motors, haptic feedback, and whatever.
IR camera,
Yeah,
just all the weirdest stuff crammed in there. Yeah, for that eating minigame on 1-2 Switch and nothing else ever.
wait, doesn't it use the IR camera in order to so you could use the Joy-Con as a Wiimote?
Only one of them has a IR camera.
What?
Only the right one does. Yeah, only the right one has the IR camera. The left one doesn't.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, the only 2 uses of it I know are, like I said, the eating minigame in 1-2 Switch and the piano Toy-Con thing uses it. And that's it.
It's surprising to me that after all of this time, the Joy-Cons are still experiencing these drifts. Like, the Switch has been out for years. You'd think that at this point they would have improved it to the point where this wouldn't be happening to a significant group of people. I'm not saying like it's happening to 10% of people, but even if it's happening consistently to like 1% of people, that's still way too much. The fact that this is a problem in 2020 is still kind of blowing my mind. It sort of seems like planned. I don't know exactly what it's called, but like planned
obsolescence.
Yes, exactly. So where they're purposely making it bad so that people will have to replace them. Like Apple, they're they were doing that with their old iPhones. I don't know if they're still doing it, but basically when a new one comes out, they just start sucking, and then you have to buy the new one. It kind of seems like what they're doing here.
I completely disagree. I do not think that Nintendo would do this, simply because everybody associates Nintendo as a brand with products that last forever. I mean, how many times have you heard the story of somebody finding their Game Boy Advance SP or their DS Lite in a drawer and then turning it on and it still works and the battery's still charged? Or the famous story with the original DMG Game Boy that was bombed in the Gulf War and it still works and it's like in a museum somewhere. Everybody associates Nintendo with durable, long-lasting products. You know, it would not make sense for them to come up with a system where, hey, here are these Joy-Cons, they cost like $80. Oh yeah, by the way, you could use them only for like a year, then you have to buy a new one. Sorry.
Well, I understand what you're going with that, and I still have a original Nintendo. You guys know that I've been playing Super Mario Bros. On it, and so that's things from the '80s, and that's still kicking it. But they have had design flaws. Like, weren't the hinges on the original DS like garbage trash? I remember mine broke off pretty easily. Wii U gamepads, they don't last forever. Obviously, the Game Boys were bricks, and those things are badass, but when it comes to the hinges or the things that you have to keep taking on and off, I don't know if Nintendo is necessarily known to have the best quality products when you have to actually detach things or move things that on hinges. So
Yeah, because regardless of if they did it intentionally or not, this does break their, streak of having durable hardware. It does break their reputation. It is worth noting one of the lawsuits filed against them does directly accuse them of planned obsolescence. One filed last September, I think. Or maybe it was this September, I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I mean, nothing's happened with that yet, but that is what the charge is. It's also worth noting, I believe when this first started, Nintendo refused to acknowledge the problem, didn't they? They weren't fixing Joy-Con drift for the first little while that the Switch was out. And eventually they started doing it, but they didn't apologize until this year. They didn't really start acknowledging it beyond doing quiet repairs. Like, it's been a real battle to get them to do anything with this, which is really, really strange. Like you said, I still can't believe it's a problem.
Yeah, it's very weird because right after the class action suit was filed, I think last year, Nintendo stopped charging people for Joy-Con drift fixes.
That's right. I forgot they were charging at first, too. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and they refunded people who were charged. But at the same time, like, they don't even consider it an issue. So I'm kind of confused. Like, if I have a Joy-Con that's drifting and I go to the Nintendo customer service center, whatever, I'm like, hey, Nintendo, look at this. Look, you see the camera's moving, but I'm not moving the joystick, but the camera's moving. Would they be like, oh, well, sorry, let me fix that? Or would they be like, well, that's not an issue.
it's not an issue.
It sounds like they'll say that's not an issue, but also fix it for you. Like, isn't that kind of what they've been doing? Like, it's so strange. It's like there's two Nintendos, but I don't know. Yeah, it's so contradictory. It makes no sense to me.
You would think after having these lawsuits against them, though, they would take the steps to fix it, after all of this time. Is the problem any better than it used to be? I don't know. Have there been hardware revisions where this doesn't happen? You'd think that there would be. Unless they're trying to say that it's impossible to fix this. This has to be this way, which I don't know if that's like one of their defenses or not.
No, because I don't think they've really commented on it because they're trying to not really acknowledge it as like a persistent problem. So I don't know. Yeah, it's really strange.
If there's enough people who it was causing problems for to cause a class action lawsuit, I don't know, Nintendo. I feel like you would save money in the long run by just fixing this problem. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some dude, you know what I'm saying? So,
now, speaking of some dude, I'm not a lawyer, but here's what I think.
Neither am I.
Well, won't you be after you pass the bar?
After I pass the bar, I will be.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
I'm just not allowed to call myself one right now.
What happens if you call yourself one? Do you get in legal trouble if you call yourself one?
I get extradited to the Dominican Republic, actually.
Oh wow.
That's how it
that's
works.
crazy, man.
Yeah, what my theory, my Alan John theory here, what's going on is that Nintendo cannot acknowledge the fact that there's something wrong, because then they'd have to pay damages, because that's what a class action lawsuit is. It's not like these people are suing Nintendo for them like to change the Joy-Cons. They want like money back. They want, well, let's say you bought a Switch and like a Joy-Con pair is like $80, right? So
Yeah.
they probably want like an $80 discount on Switches or whatever, because that's how, well, some people actually want $5 million in damages. No, if you heard about that.
I did not hear about that one. Wow. I saw a headline about a mother and son suing Nintendo, and I don't know why they wouldn't put the $5 million in that headline. That would have gotten me to read the article.
Yeah, Nintendo just, they can't like acknowledge that, because Eric, please correct me if I'm wrong.
I'll say this. There's this policy exception called subsequent remedial measures, where if a company gets caught, oh, you're doing something bad. So let's say a plaintiff is mad at a defendant for creating a defective product.
Okay, yeah.
We want to encourage the defendant to make the product better. So let's say the defendant then, fixes the product and starts selling it. The plaintiff should not be allowed to then say, hey, this is proof that there was a problem because the defendant fixed the problem, therefore they know that there was a problem. As a public policy issue, that can't really come into evidence as far as I know, at least under federal law, because we want to encourage defendants to fix their products without making them, you know what I'm saying with this? Like,
Yeah.
we don't want it to be used against them to fix it. So if Nintendo fixed the problem, that wouldn't be held against them for the most part. You could still use that to say, if Nintendo's saying, look, there's no way to fix this, there's no possible way to fix it, then you could say, what are you talking about? You fixed it. But if they're saying, look, this isn't an issue, which is what Nintendo's saying. Nintendo's saying this isn't an issue, and then fix it anyway, even if that looks consistent, it can't be used against them unless they're saying there's literally no way to fix it. I believe. Unless I'm wrong. What do I know? So
Why did you turn into Sylvester Stallone in the last 2 seconds of that?
because I'm Italian. There's something that lawyers and Italians have in common, and that's every time they're done saying something, they say, well, what the fuck do I know? I'm just a guy. So that clears them of all liability.
Which one is Sylvester Stallone? Is he Italian? Or is he a lawyer?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was Italian. That makes sense, yeah. Oh, he's the Italian stallion. I forgot.
Sylvester Stallone, the famous lawyer.
Did you hear he's going to be in Mortal Kombat now?
Oh, yeah.
That's wild. Yeah. That would be a great transition if we had planned on talking about that. But I think that's the end of the conversation. That's wild.
Yeah. Rick Moranis for next Mortal Kombat.
No, he's going to Smash. Sorry, he got the invitation.
Oh, yeah, he made this square hole.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, that's a throwback.
Check out episode 7 of the Tempcast, everybody.
Yeah. We're gonna be very self-referential from now on. So this is like every Tempcast episode is going to be progressing in plot. So you'll be very confused if you haven't seen the last episode. So you have to start from episode 1. It doesn't really get good until episode 3, but then I'm just kidding.
I would like to start doing it like comic books, like when Alan John's now editing the episodes, he can come in with an editor's note and tell everyone like when to go back and find the old references.
Yes, exactly. Or it could be like a manga where there's also like little translation things, like we say things and then he's like, well, this is what he means when he says that.
Yeah, when he says, oh, what the fuck do I know? That means
it means he doesn't know.
That's a lawyer for don't sue me.
Yeah, well, Steven, you own a Switch, so have you ever encountered issues with your Joy-Cons drifting?
Yeah, I don't use handheld mode a lot, so I only just recently noticed it, but they have started drifting. Yeah, it's worth noting I have a pretty much a launch console. I think I got it like a month after they came out, and I've only noticed it in the last couple days. But again, I hadn't played a game in handheld mode in a few months, so who knows when it started. But yeah, it's definitely starting to happen to me too. I'm gonna have to get them. I'm gonna have to send them off to Nintendo and get them fixed, I guess.
You could fix them yourself. It's actually really easy to fix.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll do that instead.
Have to order the parts on Amazon. They're kind of cheap.
I'll look into it. Maybe I can talk about the process for anyone who cares. But I don't know. It does seem to be fairly pervasive. I mean, I think most people. I don't know. That's the thing is there's not really any hard numbers on how many people this is happening to, because I guess Nintendo isn't going to acknowledge how many they've had to fix, right?
Nope.
Because they won't even acknowledge it exists.
Yep. It's a mess. It really is.
I mean, it does seem to be happening to a lot of people, though, because I heard about, Joy-Con drift seems like it started pretty quickly after the Switch came out, right? It feels like this has been a conversation for the last 3 years.
When you're fixing a Joy-Con, do you have to take it apart in order to
No, you don't have to
it?
take it apart, Eric. You don't. You just take the replacement joystick, you just throw it on, and that's it. That's how you fix it.
I'm sorry.
You cut the analog stick off with a pair of scissors and then glue a little like rubber stick to the front of it, and then you just use that.
Yeah, that's how the guy who I bought my 3DS from, that's how he fixed the circle pad on it. He just super glued it back, and I had to buy a new one.
That's pretty good.
That's awesome.
That's how it works. He's a repairman.
No, Eric, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You probably had like a legitimate question, right?
Honestly, I was just going to use it to segue into the next topic.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't a bad transition. We made fun of you.
So
Sorry.
I'm going to try it again, okay? So, Nintendo doesn't like to tear down their system to fix the Joy-Cons because it's not a problem. But you know who does like to tear down their thing? Sony likes to tear down their thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Recently, Sony, they released a video. It was a PS5 teardown. They did this in the past with the PS4. They did a video showing, hey, look, here's everything inside the PS4. Now they did it, everything inside the PS5. This video has a ton of views, way more than the PS4 teardown video did. And oh my god, the PS5 is friggin' gigantic. What do you guys think? Did you watch the video at all?
I did, yeah. I was also blown away by how big it is. I think this is the first time we've seen like just a regular candid shot of it next to a dude hanging out, and like that was really the main thing I took away from it. They gave its exact dimensions, I think, but I don't even remember what they were. I was just so blown away by how massive it is.
They probably gave the dimensions in like feet, like 7 feet by 10 feet. But that thing's big. Alan John, what do you think about it?
I agree with the size, but for me, size doesn't matter. I don't care really that much. I mean,
it's the way that it performs.
It is, but I actually have a lot of opinions, especially having knowledge of how cooling works in PCs and whatnot. I find it interesting how they opted to go with one large fan with a very large radiator that would be cooling everything in the system. That's actually very interesting for me, and I know for a fact that PlayStation 4s and 4 Pros are very noisy because what they have is an array of smaller fans. The smaller your fan is, the less air it gets with the same RPM that a bigger fan has. So what that means, in order to get better cooling with a smaller fan, you need a higher RPM, which then means more noise. It doesn't matter how good your fan is, like the faster it spins, you're gonna get more noise. It's just physics. So with Sony putting just one large fan, that's their way of fighting that noise issue that was prevalent in the PlayStation 4. So the PlayStation 5 is going to be definitely a quieter system, and that's a beefy heatsink, I'll tell you what. And that's a really big fan. I think it's more than 120 millimeter fan, I think. Might be 130 or something. I don't know. It's massive.
I thought it was 145, maybe. I could be wrong.
It might be.
Let me see if I can find it. There's something really big. Let me see if I can find it here.
It's got thick fans, like thick fins in it. So, I like that. I want that kind of fan on my next PC, something big and quiet.
120 millimeters in diameter, 45 millimeters thick.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense. So it's like a standard 120 millimeters, but it's a lot thicker than standard 120 millimeter fans like you have on PCs. So it's thicker, so its fins are bigger, which means more airflow, which means better cooling, which is great.
Okay.
So another thing I liked is the fact that the side panels are detachable and very easily so,
Yes.
which means more designs, more customization, more everything. I love it.
I was going to say that was my favorite part about the whole thing. I was going to do my top 3, but that was my number 1 right there was the fact that before with like the PS3 or 4, you can buy, a special edition console to have, you could get the God of War edition, get the Spider-Man edition. But for this, you could take the plates off. You can go to Etsy. You could buy whatever plates you want. Boom. It's you could style it however you want. And it doesn't have to be that stupid, ugly white one, which I'll probably get used to. But, I just think that that's pretty cool. Like one of the first things I'll do is probably replace it with a black one. I don't know. Maybe I won't. But just the fact that it's so customizable is really cool. And I'm surprised because, well, yeah, they'll probably sell their own faceplates. I don't know, like official faceplates. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was excited about that too. I thought that was pretty cool. Because I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to how ugly this thing looks. It looks worse every time I look at it.
Yeah.
I'm already used to the design. There's one more thing I'd like to get into detail, which is the thermal compound solution they chose, which is liquid metal. But before I get into it, does anybody else have any other opinions?
I do. Really quickly from a not an expert point of view like you are, but so it's easy to open it up and replace the sides, which I said was cool. I like that it's very easy to get to the external storage so that you could just plug in the M2 or right there. And I like that there's the dust trap, so you can just vacuum up all the dust that gets collected, because with the PS4 you have to do a huge teardown to access the fan. You have to like void your warranty just to clean it out. This one you just zap it up. So I like that a lot.
That is pretty cool. Also with the NVMe slot, I thought you would have to replace the SSD that it comes with, but that's just an additional slot, which is kind of cool. So you can have 2 SSDs in there.
Yes.
Which I didn't, maybe that was public knowledge. I didn't realize that until the breakdown, or at least it wasn't something I was sure of.
Isn't that just like the Xbox Series X?
It is, yeah.
Aside from the fact that they have to use their proprietary one.
With the PS3 and 4, you could only have 1 hard drive in there. You had to remove the one it came with to expand your storage. So I think that's a nice little, I don't know, that's a decent little thing.
What I had to do with my PS4 is I replaced the internal drive with a 1 terabyte solid state drive, and I took the 500 gigabyte one and put it in an external casing, and I have that plugged in. So I have the 2 drives, but one of them is plugged in externally. It's kind of annoying having to carry it around. So it would be really cool. I mean, it will be really cool to have just 2 storage devices internally inside of the PS5. So that would be pretty dope. That
is going to be cool. But the stand might also be worth talking about, too. Because in order to turn this thing vertically... So when it's standing up straight, there's a little stand that it sits on. And if you want to turn it vertically, you need to unscrew the stand, take it off, hide the screw in a thing, take a little like cap off, just plug the screw hole in the stand, and then clip it onto a thing in the back so that I can go under the PlayStation 5 and hold it up horizontally. And I don't know how I feel about that. It looks like a little bit of a fussy process, but it is... I mean, it's not like it's something you'd be doing constantly, and it doesn't look like too hard. Some people have been kind of coming at the PS5 for, because you can't just pick it up and turn it over like you could most other consoles. Do you guys have any real thoughts about the stand thing?
That actually does bother me a little bit, because, well, this also comes to the size of the PS5, because I travel a lot. Like, I live in like... I don't know. You
don't know where you live?
I'm a nomad. So I'm constantly carrying the PS4 around. Like, I move the PS4 constantly. I've moved it twice today. I moved it from two different rooms because there's no comfortable place for me to put it.
I'm picturing you like at the Incredible Hulk show from the 70s where you go from town to town with a PS4 on your back and like you wander in, instead of solving problems as the Hulk, you solve them as a lawyer.
That's pretty much true. That's why I wanted that's why I wanted an external monitor so bad, so that I could be like on a train, PS4 on my lap with the external monitor attached to it. Like, I'm not even joking. So the PS5, that's going to be a bitch to move.
Yeah, it really is. You should get a Switch.
Actually, speaking of portability of the PlayStation 5, it's going to be an issue not just because of the size of it, but also because of the thermal compound they're going to be using on the AMD APU inside of it. So, I don't know if you remember this, but months ago, way before the PlayStation 5 was officially announced, I think there were rumors about Sony using liquid metal for cooling in the PlayStation 5, and everybody was skeptical about it for a lot of reasons. One of them being the cost. I mean, just buying Arctic MX4 or whatever other thermal compounds there are, it's a lot cheaper than putting liquid metal inside every single PlayStation 5. So it was because of that. But also, something I don't see a lot of people talking about is the fact that liquid metal, after time, degrades, and a lot faster than your standard thermal compound. So unless Sony is using some kind of high-grade liquid metal on their APU, I don't know if people are going to be able to disassemble their PlayStation 5 every 3 years to change out the liquid metal. That's the first issue. Second issue is concerning mobility. The reason why you don't see liquid metal in laptops is because liquid metal, if just a drop of it gets onto the motherboard, it's very conductive, so it might screw things up. So that's actually an issue. And you could see in the teardown video, they have like a block of foam around the CPU in order to prevent the thermal compound from leaking. So that's some ingenuity, but then again, I don't know how effective that would be. That stuff is very, very viscous. That's the second thing. The third thing is that the appliance of liquid metal isn't something that a newbie or a normie could do. You gotta do that stuff with a special brush, okay? This isn't like where you just put like a drop of Arctic MX4 and then you put on the heatsink and then you just pray it spreads evenly. No, you can't do that stuff with liquid metal. It's got to be even, and it's got to be the exact right amount just to make sure not a single drop of it leaks onto the motherboard. But then again, they might have used liquid metal because it would probably be the only viable way to keep that thing cooled down. Now, I don't remember what the thermal solution is on the Xbox Series X because those architectures are pretty much identical, with the Xbox being just a little bit beefier. I don't know if that thing is using liquid metal as well. I doubt it. But yeah, I'm just very confused why Sony would risk so much with putting liquid metal, because I can guarantee you, unless Sony has figured something out, that in 3 years we're going to see people with overheating PlayStation 5s. We're going to see people posting, hey, my PlayStation is super loud for some reason. I'm expecting to see that, unfortunately. So I wonder if it's the same in the digital version.
I would assume so. I don't think they didn't call anything out as being different between the disc and the digital version. I assume you can get cooling solutions similar to that for a PC, right?
Yep, yeah, you can.
When you buy something like that, are they very upfront about the fact that like this is going to need to be changed out and reworked every 3 years, like, or is it for some reason different if you're buying it for your PC?
No. I mean, nobody asks you Like nobody tells you anything. They just sell it to you. It's
Yeah.
not like it's written on the packaging. Hey, this needs to be replaced. It's not necessarily 3 years. I mean, there haven't research hasn't been done on this. This is all just bro science,
Right.
PC gaming bro science, where you got to change your thermal compound, bro. You got to change it every single year. Oh, dude, you got an AMD. Oh, dude, that thing overheats so much. You got to change it out. Really, the the difference between toothpaste and liquid metal as thermal compound, it's not more than like 10 degrees, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at idle, but where it really shines is under load, under stress. That's when the thermal compound really shows itself as how good it is. I think this might tell us that the PlayStation 5 is going to be running at high temperatures a lot, like 80 degrees, 90 degrees. I mean, if Sony legitimately, if they're not doing this just for clout or something, if this is the only way they can keep this processor cool, then I'm certain there were some temperature issues with this processor. They can't keep it like at a stable 70 to 80 degrees at load. It probably goes up to 90 with just standard thermal compound.
Well, yeah, I guess between that and the fan that we spoke about and the enormous heat sink, it does seem like cooling is a big concern for them this time around. So I wonder, does that mean anything long term for the, I guess, for the durability of the PlayStation 5? That's something I never really thought about.
We'll just have to wait and see until somebody gets a hold of it and does like tests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like planned obsolescence. They're trying. I'm just kidding, but yeah, it's like in 3 years. Oh yeah, it's not really a problem. Just replace your PS5 with a new PS5. It'll be fine.
PS5 Pro will probably be out by then.
Exactly. Or you could do what Alan John suggested and take some toothpaste, heat it up, and rub it all over your PlayStation 5. That'll actually fix all of your problems. I think you said that verbatim.
Disclaimer that whatever I say cannot be taken seriously. I am not a qualified PlayStation 5 expert at all. I've never even seen a PlayStation.
I think you should take the faceplates off and instead of screwing them back in, just attach them with toothpaste. Just get enough toothpaste to get a nice sticky compound on there, nice adhesive.
Alan John says that if your PlayStation is overheating, just take the faceplates off and don't put them back on. That gives it more air.
That gets more airflow.
So keep them off and
take the faceplates off and fan the PlayStation 5 with them, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, you just got to use the make sure you use the whitening toothpaste though. Not the, yeah. You got to microwave it first though, because it's got to be 10 degrees hotter.
That is not what I said.
Pretty sure it was. I don't know. I'll go back and listen to the tape, I guess.
Play it back.
So yeah, overall, like the design of the PlayStation 5, it's pretty nice, pretty well built. I'd say really Japanese. I think with how everything fits so perfectly together. Like I'm impressed. I really.
In
am.
terms of like its specs, are you impressed with it for the price, or were you expecting more or less? Do we know how it compares to the Series X yet? I don't know if we have. We definitely don't have a teardown video. I don't know if we have exact specs on that one.
I mean, I can't really judge a machine just by looking at it disassembled. I can't see, oh, okay, I see that CPU. Yeah, I can definitely get 120 FPS 4K with that. Yeah,
okay.
that thing looks big enough for that. We have to wait until the guys like at Digital Foundry get full access to the PlayStation 5 and test like a myriad of games, including first-party titles, third-party titles.
We need lots of first-person titles. We need all the Call of Duties.
Yeah.
We need.
They're gonna have to do first-person tests and third-person tests and second-person tests and do some puzzlers.
These consoles, it's not like you could just open up CPU-Z or hardware monitor or MSI Afterburner on them and just, look at, okay, so the CPU's at 90 degrees right now, or the GPU is at 40. Okay, so the RAM usage is 70%. No, they don't have that. You literally have to go in and count everything frame by frame and maybe even connect like I don't know, an external thermometer right into this CPU heatsink in order to look at the temps, or just judge it by the sound of the fans. So yeah, we have to wait until I'd say about 2 months. But
No, geez.
from even if it's not like 4K 60 FPS, even if it's 1080p 60 FPS, that's good enough for that price. I'll be honest, you can't really build a PC that good for $500, or hell, even $400, right? You just can't. Unless you're looking into used stuff.
What would you say is like you would consider like a dangerous temp for the PS5?
Dangerous. I'd say, well, concerning CPUs, anything above 90 for a long period of time is definitely going to cause damage, despite what many people might argue otherwise, because every single CPU and GPU has a feature called thermal throttling, where it hits a certain temperature and it just downclocks itself or undervolts itself, which means less performance, but at least the CPU gets to cool down a little bit before, the solder inside of it starts to melt and whatnot. So most CPUs, like Intel CPUs, have a threshold at exactly 90 to 95 degrees, after which they start downclocking themselves and undervolting, throttling, I mean. When we're talking about consoles, Sony or Microsoft, they get to decide what's an acceptable temperature in order to prevent people from complaining about FPS drops during intense gaming sessions. They could definitely bump it up to 95 or 96, whatever. But yeah, at anything above 100, that's bad. That's no.
Sounds like
it's not a good time if you're CPU. That's red ring of death territory right there. That's how you ruin a console. But 90 degrees isn't something I'd be comfortable with, unless I'm doing a 10-minute stress test, just testing out different cooling solutions. If you have 90 degrees during a long gaming session, that is absolutely going to do damage. So I'd say keeping a threshold at 80 would be the best.
So yeah, that's sort of like what it would be for consoles. But what about for handhelds? Like, what's a good GBA temp?
Boom. I was trying to figure out the GBA temp joke with all the instances of temp thrown around, and you nailed it. Good work, buddy.
Okay. Thank you. That whole thing was a build up to me asking that question.
Oh my God. Okay. Not only are we ending the Tempcast at this, but we're also ending GBA temp as a site. This is what I come to. All these years we've been leading up to this. This is fucking perfect. Jesus.
And he never even answered. All right, well, this is GBA temp signing off forever because we got too hot. We got too hot. We're burning up. We're over 100 degrees. Goodbye.
Bye.
And good luck and Godspeed.
Good night, everybody.